This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 1852, The Myth of Multitasking versus the Art of Single Tasking by Emma Scheib of SimpleSlowLovely.com. And I'm your very own personal narrator, Justin Malik, reading to you from some amazing blogs and books to help you optimize your life, covering self-help, personal development, happiness, productivity, and more. And now let's get right to it as we optimize your life. The Myth of Multitasking versus the Art of Single Tasking by Emma Scheib of SimpleSlowLovely.com. In my 20s, I took pride in my multitasking abilities. I think I may have even included it as a strength on my CV. Bent on achieving as much as possible every day, this was the only way I could accomplish my epic to-do lists. But it wasn't until I turned 30 and had our first daughter that I really began to flourish as a multitasker extraordinaire. How else are you supposed to survive those first few months, let alone the years to follow? I knew how to fold a load of washing while stirring dinner on the stove, while talking on the phone, while entertaining my 6-month-old. And it felt good. Except the good feelings never lasted. They soon made way for an exhaustion that was all-consuming. It turns out our bodies and brains aren't really wired for that many things all at once. The science and history of multitasking. In fact, operating in this manner actually uses up the oxygenated glucose in the brain, the fuel we need for concentrating on a task. So then we find ourselves turning to food and coffee to make up for what we've used with our multitasking. The term multitasking first appeared in 1965 and was used to describe IBM's technology and computers' ability to multitask. Links to human behavior were made, and voila, the term became synonymous with the fast pace of life that many people live. And the myth that multitasking allows someone to do more was born. Nowadays, multitasking is more likely to be recognized for what it is, one of the biggest productivity killers. Studies have shown that it takes an average of 23 minutes to get back on focus on a task after switching to something else. This is particularly evident when we are multitasking with something cognitively demanding. Who has an extra 23 minutes, times that by how many times you switch, to spare every day? What multitasking really is. The terminology has also changed. It turns out that most of the time what we are actually doing when we multitask is task switching. Think of my example earlier. Yes, I could talk on the phone and stir the food in the pot, but I couldn't also be folding the washing. That would literally require another set of arms. So what I described is instead task switching. I'd stir the pot, fold a couple of times, stir the pot, talk to the baby, fold some more. The biggest problem I eventually had, and still do, with multitasking was what it did to my mental health. My anxiety levels skyrocketed when I was constantly multitasking or task switching. My brain literally could not keep up with the to-do list. I ended days like this feeling fraught, on edge, and unsatisfied. Enter single tasking. And I'll warn you now, it's a hard act to follow, but I think if you give it a try, you'll find it's a game changer. You might be asking, how the heck do you single task? After all, for lots of us, it doesn't come automatically anymore. There are lots of tips for something that seems, self-explanatory. And if you have the well-worn habit of task switching, then you might find you need lots of practice to try and swap this out for single tasking. How to start practicing single tasking. Single tasking is an art. Here are some ideas to get you started. Number 1, focus on one thing. Try and notice the task you are currently doing and fully engage with it. For example, if it's folding the washing, focus on just that. Focus on that one thing and do it well. Number 2, reduce distractions. When you are on your phone, laptop, or whatever device of your choice, keep one tab open at a time. I know this one's pretty shocking, and sometimes if you are working, you need more than one. But how often do you really need Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram open at the same time? I've just installed a Chrome app called Waste No Time, which blocks Facebook for me after a certain period of time. And number 3, if you make to-do lists like me, try completing each task fully before moving on to the next one. Lots of days I get to the end of my day not being able to cross anything off. Each task is half done. I've either been interrupted and then decided to move on to the next thing, or found the chosen task too difficult and procrastinated by moving down the list. How ridiculously unsatisfying. Here's the kicker. If you have kids, single tasking might be near on impossible. These tiny little humans are experts at interrupting us and basically demanding we task switch to whatever the heck they want us to do. So you simply won't get to do it every time, but practice makes perfect. And one day you'll find yourself in a season where mindful single tasking can happen more often. Charles Dickens had some great insight on this. Maybe this is how he got some of his great works like Oliver Twist completed. He did each single thing as if he did nothing else. Enjoy your week, and remember to give single tasking a go today. You just listened to the post titled The Myth of Multitasking versus the Art of Single Tasking by Emma Scheib of SimpleSlowLovely.com. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this episode. Explore your creativity at Skillshare.com/OLD and get a free trial of premium membership. No matter what 2021 brings, you can spend it creating something meaningful with Skillshare's online classes because time is what we make of it. There's so many fascinating classes on Skillshare on topics like lifestyle, productivity, photography, and so much more. Personally, I've seen studies showing that plants lower levels of anxiety, increase productivity, memory and attentiveness, lower stress, and more. So when I saw they have a class called Plants at Home, Uplift Your Spirit in Your Space, I was in because I do not have a green thumb. So that's going to be a fun one to learn all about it. With Skillshare, you can find inspiration in the moment and learn how to express your creativity. Skillshare offers classes designed for real life so you can move your creative journey forward without putting life on hold. Their short classes are a perfect fit for your busy routine. You'll create real projects and get the support of fellow creatives so you can accomplish real growth. So join me and explore your creativity at Skillshare.com/old and get a free trial of premium membership. So productivity was the topic of today, which Skillshare has classes on, and one big misconception about productivity is that it's synonymous with multitasking. As a drummer, I used to pride myself on being a multitasker. One hand is doing one thing, the other is doing something else, and both feet are doing completely different things from the hands and each other, all while doing something else like reading music. Now, is that multitasking? Could be seen that way, but I don't think it is actually. It's like juggling. It's one thing, but involves hand-eye coordination of several parts of the body. So the distinction, I think, is that my mind is on one thing when I'm drumming or playing guitar. At least hopefully it is. Yeah, the left hand and right hand might be doing different things, but it's for the same reason. Not like with multitasking where it's unrelated reasons, and that's where the synergy is gone and you're really only giving half or less of your attention to each. You're mentally trying to switch back and forth and don't quite give each your full attention. Again, you could say that is true with drumming, but that's the end goal of drumming. You might take your focus off your foot and it'll keep going and you'll focus on something special with the right hand, but that's all part of a plan to make them all work together. That's not the case with multitasking. It is not harmonious, just a chaotic mess. They don't feed off of each other. Texting isn't helping your driving and vice versa. They're hindering each other. And that's where we get into trouble. So I do encourage all of us to not glamorize or be proud of our multitasking abilities. Instead, we should really champion focus and attention. So something to think about today. Thank you to Emma for the reminder. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the Wednesday show tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.